G'day, ladies and gents, and welcome to Aneurysm Thunder. It is very early in the morning, and just as I'm about to go to bed, I see these new battle rating changes. And I had about 3 strokes just reading it, let's put it that way. So, to sum up the major issues, the J32B and the G91YS are going to 10.0. We do not have battle rating decompression, so they are literally one step away from Mark IIs with R60s and M9Js and flares. And at the same time, the Lightning is staying at 9.7. So we've just had 2 or 3 issues and made them like 3 times, 4 times worse. So, a lot of people will actually bring up some discussion about the Lightning, and I have heard a few interesting arguments about the Lightning. So, you know what, let's address that in this video. The Lightning is basically a performance vehicle. It does 1250 on the deck, which is basically 50 to 60 kilometers per hour faster than anything else on the deck at its battle rating of 9.7, let alone 8.7. So at 8.7, the fastest thing on the deck, I believe, is the F30 Sabre, which does 1114, correct me if I'm wrong, but something around the 1100 mark. So you're looking at a difference of 150 kilometers per hour, which is kind of massive, right? But if you take that with some of the other 8.7s, you're looking at like the G91s, things like that, that do 1040. Now, there is no way a G91R1 can catch a Lightning at all. And of course, you know, you'd expect, sure, that's about right. That seems kind of cool. And then you realize that the Lightning has afterburners, so it has altitude performance, which absolutely blows things like the Sabres and even the 9.7s out of the water. So it's already an excellent 9.7. In fact, it is too good for a 9.7, if you will. It blows every single one of them out of the water. It blows the G91YS out of the water. The G91YS, whilst being a very, very good jet, simply can't compete with the Lightning. It is nowhere near faster. It does not retain nearly as much energy. It does not climb better. It doesn't have a radar, and it does not have decent missiles. The only thing that is comparable in is its guns. They have exactly the same guns. Well, basically the same guns. The F100, whilst being almost as fast and having double the missiles, it lacks the energy retention in a climb, and it lacks the climb rate and altitude performance. So if I wanted to, I could sit at altitude all fucking day in a Lightning and just camp there. And there would be nothing an F100 can do. How do I know this? Because I was in an F100 and a Lightning did this to me, and I spent half an hour chasing him because I wasn't going to let him win. Not everyone's like that, but you know what? That's something you can get away with in the Lightning, and I think that's frankly appalling. So, let's look at its next competitor, the J32B. The J32B is probably its closest competitor. It has 4 missiles, it has a radar, it has a decent array of guns, it has a fairly decent climb rate, it has a respectable turn rate. Granted, if a Lightning catches it off guard, it will be able to kill it, but the J32B is actually fairly capable in a dogfight with the Lightning. It will sometimes win, and if you're playing it right, you will tend to sort of come out on top. Now, that is one plane, and it is now being moved through the BR lock. We now have a plane that is superior at everything except turning and low-speed dogfighting. So if I want to, I can play the Lightning with impunity. And that's not good, because you need other planes to hold it to account. The classic example is MiG-15 and F2 or F-35 Sabre. I think the F-35 is a really good option here. So MiG-15 has the energy retention. The F-35 Sabre has the straight line speed. The MiG-15 has low speed turn rate. The F-30 has high speed turn rate. The MiG-15 has close range guns. The F-35 has the long range guns. Do you see where I'm coming? There is something that has a counter at every corner. Now the Lightning has one, and that is, if you turn excessively and drop too much speed, you'll probably get killed by either an F100 or someone who's lucky enough to jump you, or someone you are stupid enough to dogfight. The only other way is if you are focused by 5 or 6 F100s or F11s or something like that. Now, speaking of the F11 is remaining at 9.0 whilst being 1200 on the deck, which again is almost as fast as the Lightning. It should be 9.3 or 9.7 simply because of its speed. It will be a very annoying jet to fight. However frustrating it may be to fly and to get kills, much like the Lightning. Now, the Lightning as well is that frustrating factor. So, whilst Gaijin doesn't actually see the statistics of the Lightning affecting the battles, they will see it in the players' attitudes, because the Lightning, when played properly, is ridiculously strong. Now, I know a lot of people don't play the Lightning properly, and that's probably why in the statistics it does not represent that way. But when you do, it is untouchable. And you're probably seeing that in the background footage. I'm absolutely bullying F11s because there is nothing they can do. And the F11 is a comparable jet. In short, the Lightning F6 should go to 10.0. It is better that an entire BR is free from the clutches of a single aircraft than a single aircraft getting its lease on life. It is better for that single aircraft to suffer absolutely miserable pain than for an entire battle rating, more aircraft, to suffer that incredible pain. And that's something that Gaijin seems to miss every single time. Their statistics tell you what you're seeing in that plane, but it doesn't tell you how many up tiers it gets, how many down tiers it gets. It doesn't tell you the situation of the battle rating, the situation of the BR bracket. So, for example, a classic one, an absolutely classic example, is when you get a popular BR. So let's say 10.3 currently for jets, and then you have the 10.0s, and then you have a BR lock. So 9.7 cannot be up tiered to 10.0 or 10.3. It can only be down tiered. Now, 9.7 to 8.7 is going to be the spread of 1. But people at 8.7 are going to get really sick of being clubbed constantly. So you're not going to see as many 8.7s, and this is actually something that you tend to see. You tend to see more 9.0s or 9.3s. Now, for the unfortunate souls who are there, they tend to be the ones that are sort of when they do, they're the majority of the bracket, because it's sort of like an 8.7 to 9.3-ish, with a couple of 9.7s splashed in. Now, when those 9.7s are splashed in, it wreaks havoc, especially when it's a Lightning. Now, for the J32B and the G91YS, that's perfectly understandable, because these things are a lot more maneuverable than the Lightning. They are a better 9.7 to face 8.7s. They fit the BR bracket better. But the Lightning does not. The Lightning is clunky. If you get into too many dogfights, you'll die. But at the same time, if you play it properly, you are absolutely untouchable. So you can't have fun in it. You can't play aggressively in dogfight. But at the same time, playing it properly means that it becomes frustrating for the players. And so that BR slowly dies. It dies. And what Gaijin fails to realize is that because the J32B and the G91YS are getting down-tiered so much, that is why they are doing well. And the Lightning is not doing as well because it doesn't fit the BR. If the Lightning F6, like I said in my previous videos, fought the SU-7B, the F104A and C, and the G and the J, not the Chinese one, but basically most of the 10.0s, if it fought up to the T2, then it would be in its ideal bracket. Now, we can make that start to happen. Now, all Gaijin needs to do is put that BR to 10.7. And what that will do, putting the Lightning up to 10.0 with it, and putting the BR lock at 10.0, will put the Lightning in a better spot. As for the J32B and the G91YS, well, we've actually seen what they're like when they're up tiered to 10.3. Or at least to what was 10.3. When they were first introduced, they were fighting F4Cs and MiG-21Fs, and of course F100 and MiG-19s, and they were getting fucking raped. They were getting brutalized by these jets because they are objectively better. And Gaijin does not realize what they are doing. For me, it is patently obvious, because I've seen this happen before with these two exact same jets. You guys must remember, some of you guys must remember at least, playing the G91YS and suffering. Now, it's just going to do the same thing. And whilst the G91YS is extremely strong, it fits the 8.7 meta a lot better. If you guys watch my G91YS video, you'll know that an R3 is just as deadly as a YS in that battle rating range. Because the R3 has the ability to turn, the G91YS has the ability for energy retention. And of course it has the missiles. But Gaijin doesn't realize. And to me that's really sad. Because they're making the same mistake twice, and then they're going to wonder why the G91YS was depressingly low, as they might put it, and the J32B depressingly bad. It's obvious. Gaijin is not looking at the full picture. They're seeing the matches played, probably the win rate, probably the kill-death ratio, but they're not likely taking into consideration the BR brackets that this plane is existing in. It is doing well because it is constantly getting down-tiered, and it is constantly getting down-tiered because there's a hard BR lock above it. And putting it up is going to make it suffer, and is not going to make the bottom BR much better. In fact, it's probably going to make it worse now, because the Lightning F6 has free reign. Good luck. The F3H Demon is a pretty good jet, but it doesn't stand up to the Lightning nearly as much as the J32B or the G91YS. And for me, this is an incredibly disappointing change, and I would really like to see something better. So, is there anything else that I find a little bit crazy? Well, honestly, a lot of these changes are interesting. I suggest you go and have a look. But for me, the massive one is the J32B and the G91YS. No lightning and no decompression. Like I say, time and time again, just a little bit of decompression goes a long way. It may not give a plane a new lease on life, but it'll free up the ones below it, or free up the ones next to it, or at the very least, give the opponents of that plane a hard counter in their regular tech tree. Right now, there is nothing to properly combat the lightning. The F3D, like I said, it's okay, but it won't do. The F100, it's okay, but it won't do. The J32B and the YS are the closest thing to combating it, but they won't do. The best option is to put the Lightning back on the shelf at 10.0. So at least it isn't ruining the entire battle rating below it. Anyway, ladies and gents, thank you very much for watching. If there is, by the time this video goes up, a forum to discuss, make sure you make your voices heard, because I certainly will be. Anyway, ladies and gents, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I'll catch you next time.